Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. How's everybody living on this fine Monday in Middle Tennessee? We're very happy to have you here for the next 3 hours. Lucas Panzica and myself. Jump in at any point. 615-737-1045. That's the number if you would like to. 615-737-1045. Got a lot of ground to cover. Titans over the Broncos yesterday. Would you call it in dramatic fashion?
There were dramatic points.
There were dramatic points. They were few and far between, but there was drama and ultimately a sixth win on the season. So congratulations to them and congratulations to you if you're a Titans fan. Vols getting a win as well. We'll cover a little bit of ground with that. More on that tomorrow specifically, although Lucas tells me a number of school records broken that we have to spend at least a little bit of time on this morning. But let's start with the obvious. Let's start with the Titans. Let's start with how they won. So the game ends. Now, it didn't end in as dramatic of a fashion as it potentially could have had Rashad Weaver actually called game, strip-sacked Russell Wilson, and then DeMarcus Walker theoretically comes up with the fumble. That didn't happen. They had the opportunity to redo the play. It was fourth down. Russell Wilson trying to buy time, interception Terrence Mitchell. Now, the funny part, because I was sitting there, and Russ throws that interception with almost no time left, maybe 20 seconds left on the clock. And Terrence Mitchell took a knee as if he was in the end zone, which would have brought it out, as opposed to coming out to the one and taking a knee on the one. So I'm sitting there waiting for them to have to QB sneak their way out of this thing and for disaster to unfold because, of course, why wouldn't it? I mean, it had already happened earlier in the game in ways that had to cause you I can't imagine the agony of what it would be to be in your living room, wherever you're listening to us today, to be in your living room or at the bar with you or your friend's house, whomever you were watching the Titans game with, wherever you were watching the Titans game, at your facial expression when Malik Willis goes into the game and then immediately fumbles and turnover in a massive spot, and you're putting additional strain on a defense that was yesterday at one point when David Long went down without 8 starters and still played exceptional football. But the thing that I want to start with this morning is Tannehill, because for the drama that the first half lacked, this, I thought, was the best indication of what his absence has meant to them and what he gives them when there's just base-level competency. He was under pressure yesterday, like he typically is. The offensive line, we've talked about the struggles. Talked about the lack of wide receiver separation. There was evidence of that again yesterday. But after starting the game, the Titans, with 6 straight punts, and I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, surely somebody is going to be able to do something here to give them an opportunity to win. They are missing so many opportunities. There was Jeff Swaim whiffing on wide open passes with nobody in the area. There were drops throughout the course of the day. Robert Woods had a terrible one in ways that you're just not accustomed to seeing. Derrick Henry, there were drops in that game. And also the Broncos did well to kind of take Derrick out of it. So the Ryan Tannehill situation, for him to come in, start the way that they did, look the way that they did, and end up winning that game with their passing attack and defense. Of course, the defense and Ryan Stonehouse, good God. But the effort made by the passing game, it just happened to be enough. But it was enough in critical moments that you felt like, okay, you have proven to me that you can operate independently of your rushing attack. You can operate independently of Derrick Henry if you give that quarterback proper time. You allow more opportunities for the wide receivers to make plays. NWI bounced back, I thought, spectacularly. He started that game pretty rough as well. Alligator arms at times. Felt a defender coming. Let a ball. I mean, Tannehill tried to fit it in an incredibly tight window. But still, there were moments where it could have collapsed on them in ways that are just, the most predictable thing ever, because we've seen them do this 1,000,001 times. But it didn't. And they made those plays. And I thought that to have that showed, the people that were yelling at me during the first half that Malik Willis needs to be inserted in the lineup. Are you insane? Are you nuts? Do you just not want to watch passing offense at all in the NFL? Do you want to further jeopardize your chances to win a game that you desperately need within the conference? To beat up on a bad team while there are bad teams left on your schedule to beat up on? Because the Broncos are trash. Awful on the offensive side of the football. To have lost that game, if they had lost that game, it would have been a stinging indictment of them. A clear and obvious missed opportunity. But they didn't. They capitalized. They did the damn thing. To their credit. And the Ryan Tannehill experience, whatever you make of the lack of gaudy statistics or the fact that, it's 8 touchdowns. I mean, he's missed 2 games, but 8 touchdowns through 10 weeks, whatever the case may be, like there was no better example, I think, in recent memory of why he is the guy who gives you the best opportunity to win games. That 11-yard run was as badass a moment as anybody's had this season. Because he's doing it on a bum ankle. He's doing it in a way that has to be deeply uncomfortable. And he was moving pretty stiffly when he got up to the podium with us afterwards. That 11-yard rush to convert, to keep a drive alive on the touchdown drive when they needed points desperately before the half to try and get themselves back into this thing, I thought he delivered in a big spot, and I thought that spoke to the kind of effort that this guy consistently gives, the kind of toughness that this guy consistently gives. And while there are criticisms of elite quarterback, not elite quarterback, whatever, I don't care about that. Was he good enough yesterday to win them a game? Did he win them a game? The answer is yes, in ways that the other guy is not yet capable of doing. 615-737-1045 is how you can jump in on the conversation. In fact, let's hear from Ryan Tannehill about the 11-yard run first, and then we'll talk about some players who stepped up today.
Yeah, I definitely hadn't tested that, and I didn't feel too good. But, necessity there. Pocket got muddy, things weren't clean downfield, and was able to squirt out of there.
So, I thought that he might come out of the game, and he did come out of the game for different reasons. We'll talk about Todd Downing and the whole Malik Willis situation later on. But, have you seen any further criticisms of Tannehill of the Titans offense today beyond Todd Downing? Because, I was surprised to see how little it took for people to start to ask for Malik on social media, just like live reaction. I know that's not a fair sample size, but that's the sample size that I have in game.
My favorite thing is after the flea flicker, when you say something about it and people immediately reply back to you, well, Tim Kelly called that play.
That's right. Hey, you remember that Cosell clip we played last week about their inability to scheme guys open?
Right.
Where the hell's Tim Kelly on that? Huh?
He only calls the good plays.
Oh, that's right. I got one tweet yesterday that said, well, Vrabel must have called that play. Mike must have vetoed them on that play. I'm just like, you guys are insane.
Well, it's just the absolute conviction people say it with. Like, it's not even like a troll or a joke. Like, well, no, Tim Kelly obviously called that play.
That's correct. That's correct. It speaks to a level of sports QAnon conspiracy theory type of stuff that always makes me laugh. But we'll have time for Todd Downing because there was a lot of criticism, as there typically is throughout the course of a Titans game, of the Titans offensive coordinator. And I will explain. We will go point by point on that situation, on that play, on that result, and what ended up happening after the fact. But we'll do that later in the show. In the meantime, we have to talk about players who stepped up in a big spot because, as I mentioned, on the defensive side of the ball, there was a point where they were out without 8 starters. On the offensive side of the ball, a guy who we I think we very much called into question the general competency of the wide receiving core last Monday. And yesterday, you saw what they were able to do if you just give that quarterback a little more time. We'll get into that. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel, a couple of the players from the locker room. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Ryan Tannehill, Nick Westbrook-Akina stepping up in a big spot, a big third down touchdown pass to Westbrook-Akina, also to end the drive in the first half to get the Titans on the board. Welcome back to the show. Buck Rising here with you until 1 o'clock. So it was a slog, as we mentioned. How bad do you think Russell Wilson feels today? Did you watch any of his press conference? I did not think about it until just now to see if there. Oh yeah, there he is. Hey Russ, how do you feel about again scoring below your 14-point season-long scoring average?
Let's ride. Broncos country. Let's ride.
Oh, aggressive.
Let's ride. Broncos country.
Wait, there's two of them?
Yeah, they're separate.
There's Russ and then there's Danger Russ. He was terrible. That remains one of the most shocking things in the NFL this year to me. To see it like live, because obviously the Broncos have been all over television all year long. But to see it live, and they had I think 75 offensive linemen go down throughout the course of that game. There were dudes out there dropping left and right, third string center. It didn't even matter that Jeff Simmons didn't play yesterday. They had 6 sacks in a game without Jeff Simmons and Bud Dupree.
Yeah, center and right tackle went down for them yesterday.
Oof. I mean, it is pretty impressive to see the defensive part of this, and we'll talk about the defense first.
And that's not to mention Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. Well, have we seen any updates on Jerry Jeudy? Because he was first, he went down non-contact, and this was somebody that was discussed as why the hell isn't John Robinson, now revisionist history, but why the hell isn't John Robinson trading for Jerry Jeudy, who has had a fair amount of injuries throughout the course of his still early career, but he went down non-contact yesterday, was called questionable with an ankle. Blaine, who was sitting 2 seats down from me, said, "Oh, that looks like an Achilles."
Well, that's what Pro Football Dr. David Chow on social media, who does tend to make blanket statements based on, looks like an Achilles, which is very different, tweeting that out to his thousands and thousands of followers than Blaine saying something to you in a press box. And no, they came out and said, no, not an Achilles. It's an ankle. Ian Rappaport today said Jerry Jeudy getting an MRI on his ankle. Heading into the MRI, the belief is he strained a muscle behind his ankle. He couldn't put any pressure on it yesterday, so he couldn't run routes. Testing will tell how long he is out.
Okay, so they are obviously, if you needed to see another team up against your team that is also dealing with significant amount of injuries, look no further than the Broncos.
There's a few of those teams.
Oh, sure. It's for all the talk of, Tom Brady and bad football and all these different things that he was asked about earlier in the season. Like it's a hospital out there. Like it is awful.
It's out of control this year.
Turns out football deeply unhealthy for you. So for all these injuries that are happening across the board, and it makes it more impressive that the coaching staff here continues to put things together in ways that will just barely squeak by a win. Now, they are also, they have, again, the offensive deficiencies. But I thought our biggest question, I think all season long, even when Tannehill was in the lineup and healthy, or healthier, was can the Titans' passing offense operate independently of their rushing attack? Basically for the first half until the 2-minute drill where they scored the touchdown. I think there was like 12 seconds left on the board by the time that was over. The answer was no. And we hadn't really seen much evidence that they would be able to do that because Derek, for the early part of the season, has been carrying a lot of the workload and doing it well. The offensive line too. I thought they have been performing at a better rate as far as the run blocking is concerned. But in a few critical moments, Tannehill and the passing offense delivering in that spot, I thought that was huge. Now, Brian Thompson Sr. tweets us, "Man, you're giving Tannehill too much credit for one half. Consistent, he is not. Second half, though, you're worse than LeBron fans. You're a tanisexual, I guess. Man, he'd be riding for Tannehill regardless of how he plays," talking about me, and he tweets Slay. So I don't know why he tweets Slay, but Slay's tagged in the tweet. So I don't know. Am I giving Ryan Tannehill too much credit? I honestly, that's as impressed as I've been with him in a long time. Just because he played, because he went out there, because he delivered when they needed him to deliver, They had to do some gimmicky things or flea flicker, but whatever. Like they won a game and he threw 2 touchdown passes and he did enough. And he did it in a day where Derek wasn't able to give you much. And they were clearly, as every team does, clearly keying on Derek and telling the Titans passing offense, hey, go out there and try to beat us. Because 9 times out of 10, they haven't been able to. But with Burks coming back, with Tannehill back in the lineup, an actual passing offense that you can execute with a player who understands it, understands defenses, can get you in and out of situations and not be something that you have to try and hide for 4 quarters the way that Malik is at this stage in his career, it was enough. And I thought it answered the question of, can this passing offense operate independently of the rushing attack? Now, can they do it consistently? That remains to be seen. Austin Hooper, I thought, stepped up nicely yesterday. Nick Westbrook-Akina, we talked about, stepped up in a really big way yesterday. And this was something that Ryan Tannehill talked about, the variety of different players for both sides of the ball and probably special teams who elevated themselves to make sure that they could secure that win.
Yeah, they're huge. They're huge. Nick made some plays. Getting that 2-minute drive going. Obviously on the touchdown there at the end of half. Then on the other long touchdown, Hoop made some big plays on 3rd down. Chig, that was a huge 3rd down there at the end of the 4th quarter. Something we saw on the sideline and talked to him about, and made a little adjustment, came back and were able to hit it. So it's pretty cool whenever you make those sideline adjustments. Talk through it with a young player like Chig, who's coming on for us, and he goes out there and makes a huge play for us.
What's it going to take to get Chig Okonkwo more snaps? Like what more can we sign a petition? Can we, what's the website called? Change.com, change.org, whatever it is. Can we find some way to petition the Titans coaching staff to get Jeff Swaim the hell off the field and give Chig more snaps? Like, I understand the Austin Hooper, maybe he's not the best blocker situation. They need to be able to block as a tight end in that offense. But, come on. There are too many passing plays that need to be made. And you can figure out other ways to continue to manufacture stuff in the rushing attack. You don't want to give your game away if Jeff Swaim is in on every play where it's a rush and Hooper or Chig is in on every play where it's a pass. But, surely at some point we can start to transition in that direction. Hasn't felt like it just yet, though, but he's right. Those guys stepped up. And in a big spot, the defense, I think you continue to give the most credit to, even though the defense can play out of their minds and still lose a game like they did in Kansas City, because you need some kind of juice that they lacked without Tannehill in the lineup. But I think that the situation for the Titans yesterday, it was something that you needed to see from a quarterback who you have trust issues with. I understand why you have trust issues with Ryan Tannehill. And what I'm saying is he's showing you the reasons why that trust is well placed in the regular season. We are not talking about postseason football just yet. Let's get to the phone. 615-737-1045. Out Chuck calling us from Clarksville today. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Buck. Hey, do you think some of the talk all week and about how bad the receiving core has been and is might have spurred them to, they as a unit looked tremendously better yesterday than they have all season. So hopefully this is a spur to them to continue on like that, because they went up against a top-notch secondary, and most of the day they were winning the battles. So that I think all the talk last week and getting on them about being the worst receiving core, I think it really hit home, and they really went out and was going to prove a point that they weren't.
I appreciate the call, Chuck. Well, I hope so. Good. Do it again. Do it again. I am pleased for them, and I'm pleased for you that they were able to deliver, at least in certain circumstances. And I like I said, all credit in the world to Nick Westbrook-Akina, who went out there and made a bunch of plays. And we talked to him in the locker room yesterday, and he said he took away, he really he took a step back this week, basically. He was in their team chapel session on Saturday, and he said he was struck in particular by a line that was delivered at the team chapel. And forgive me, I can't recite it from memory yesterday, but basically that he felt inspired and that it helped propel him to the kind of performance that he had. Now, I don't know if it's going to take divine inspiration every week, or if you just need him to make a couple more catches on a consistent basis and Hooper to get, yards after the catch, yards after contact, the way that he did on a critical third down conversion, as well as, perhaps a little divine inspiration or divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. But I think that as you talk about the Titans passing game, the offensive line keeping him clean in the 2-minute was as important as anything that happened. Because that's been the thing all year long. And he was still under pressure. I mean, I looked this morning at Zach Lyon's Twitter feed, at F-Words Pod, because he does a good job of aggregating the Pro Football Focus, not grades, but statistics, specifically on the offensive line as far as pressures allowed. So yesterday, Dennis Daly allowed 3 hurries. Brewer 1 hit and 2 hurries. Ben Jones 2 hurries. 3 hurries by Nate Davis, a sack and a hurry by NPF. So he was still under duress, but for that one moment, they kept him clean. And he found the opportunities to make plays. He had to, scramble out of necessity. In a perfect world, do you want the quarterback on a bum ankle to do that, especially when he's got a short week on his way to Thursday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers? No, probably not. But he did it anyway because they needed to have it. And those are the kind of plays that sustain drives and kind of reemphasize what he means to the players and to the coaches about the effort that he gives. Alex in Nashville is next. Hello, Alex.
I'll do.
We're good.
I think the biggest thing of getting Chig on the field and anybody that can catch the ball more with Hilliard and stuff like that is blocking. Obviously, the goal is to get your best 11 on the field, but we can't even get our best 5 pass catchers on the field because we got to babysit Dennis Daly because he couldn't block a freaking turnstile to save his life. But you want to get more reps on the field and get Swain off the field, have the left tackle be able to be a professional left tackle and block on his own. But either way, Chig and Hilliard need to get on the field more. We need to run more 2-backs, spread them out, put as little pressure on the up front 5 as humanly possible. Stop condensing the formations and putting more attention on the front 5. Spread them out, alleviate the pressure, put the ball in the playmaker's hands, period.
If only it was that simple. Thank you for the call, Alex. It's not like I'm not dismissing what he's saying because he's absolutely right, but it has been a struggle for them. I was so excited to see how often they were passing on first down yesterday. And they couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done. They were trying to be a more efficient offense. They were doing that against the top pass defense in football coming into yesterday's game. Bar none. Like, not one of the best, the best at the top. That secondary is nasty. Pat Surtain is a great player. And they still have some guys who can get after you, as evidenced by the amount of pressure that Tannehill did face in that game. But let's hear from Vrabel on the 2-minute drive that got them the points they absolutely had to have before the half in a big spot.
Well, I think Brian was decisive. I think we protected him. I think we were able to protect him. We got into a good flow. Started with trailing with a little catch and run and, just pile through there and get the first down, put his pads down. Penalty-free drive offensively. There's certainly some things there, just referencing Paul's, comment that will probably cost you. I mean, there's line up in the neutral zone however many times, jump off sides on, certainly things that we're not coaching, we're not encouraging, we're not, those are things that obviously going against elite teams in this league that'll probably get you beat.
It's Mike Vrabel yesterday. They got penalized 9 times again yesterday. I can't figure out if there's a common thread between some of these penalties, because like the Samo, they had 2. I think it was either Tart and Samo or one of the other defensive linemen. I don't want to unfairly attribute it to somebody who didn't make a mistake, but like the lineup in the neutral zone is as dumb a penalty as any in football. Now the roughing the passer call that Russ got with a flop that was reminiscent of Mahomes last week, as a matter of fact. I took issue with it initially, and then upon replay, like, if you go low on the quarterback, they're going to throw the flag. Now, Russell looked back at the official like a like a beat dog and just gave him puppy eyes and said, really, you're not going to call that? And then the official threw the flag later, which I think bothered people more. But they have been consistent as far as those awful roughing the passer penalties. If you go low on the quarterback, they're going to throw the flag on you. So you got to be cognizant of that. And certainly nobody knows that better than Mike Vrabel. But it was funny. Lucas, did you say you saw him sprinting 80 yards down the sideline to yell at one of the officials about one of the flags on the field?
Yeah, it was when he was backed up. The Broncos were backed up to the end zone, the throwaway towards the left side, and immediately afterward, Russell's throwing the ball from the end zone. Cortland Sutton's throwing his hand up like it was me, I'm the receiver.
Yeah.
But that was the play that Vrabel was incensed about, wanting that roughing in the end zone. Or not roughing, I'm sorry, the intentional grounding in the end zone.
Vanny calling us from Columbia today. What's up?
Hey, I just want to comment about Tannehill, the inconsistencies and everything, but I believe that when he went down, I bet everybody was wishing he was in there, because, I think Malik Willis has got some good athletic abilities, but I think he's just a little timid, when they bring him in, he fumbles. I think he's just lacking a little confidence. But, I just want to jump on and say, I think Tannehill is better than what everybody lays it out to believe.
Thanks for the call, Vanny. 615-737-1045. The confidence thing, I don't know how to accurately assess that. It's one of those intangible things that, yes, it probably impacts more plays than I give it credit for. Yes, lack thereof, or like overwhelming confidence, how it elevates you in certain moments and then fails you in others. I don't know how to accurately assess that in real time. I don't think Malik Willis lacks confidence, and we'll talk about that damn play, because from a variety of different angles, that was like oh bleep. They're going to do something weird. And then they immediately did the worst possible thing, or they immediately did the thing that could lead to the most high-risk result, which of course was a turnover, and their defense is full of just giant big, strong, fast dudes who want to club your head in. And they continue. They blitzed a little more than they usually do yesterday, but it still wasn't a lot. They were still able to get pressure with Danico Autry, Rashad Weaver, Mario Edwards, DeMarcus Walker. Kevin Strong played a little bit, as did Tierra Tart, but they're just consistently getting after dudes with that four-man front. And those stunts and those games, those twists that they play up front, it helps create those one-on-one matchups and further expedite the ability to get to the quarterback, even if you don't have Big Jeff. 6 sacks in a game under Mike Vrabel is the most that they've had since he got hired. And they did it with arguably, Harold is their best pass rusher. Harold has not been available all season. So of the players who have been available thus far this year, Jeff Simmons and Bud Dupree are their best pass rushers. And Danico Autry is great. Danico Autry you would probably put above Dupree just by nature of availability. But there is a substantial difference when Dupree is in the lineup, and still they were able to affect the quarterback consistently, play in, play out, down in, down out, throughout the course of that game against the Broncos. Let's hear from Mike Vrabel, as a matter of fact, about the defensive line and the way that they were able to get that kind of pressure, because he spoke about it right off the top.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge for us to, go out there and keep battling in all 3 phases. I thought that they never quit, and they tried to pick each other up and support each other. And when the offense needed to play, the defense was able to come and help. When we made a mistake on offense, or, we gave up a touchdown on defense, or we needed a drive offensively, needed a big play, and I thought our special teams, kept us in there and did a great job with field position.
Dupree or Jeffrey Simmons, you still maintain that 4-man front, 4 year 6 sacks. What was the key to being able to still, do that with those 4 guys?
Well, I think, that they probably weren't at 100% either, and it's how it goes in this league. And I know that those guys took advantage of their opportunities. DeMarcus and Mario and Danico and the whole crew. They played relentless, and unfortunately weren't able to get the stop there at the end on 4th down. But they battled, and they had them running and scrambling.
It's Mike Vrabel talking about the effort by his defense. We'll get back to that defense a little later on, because there was a lot of revisionist history going on yesterday on the internet that made me laugh. But we will do that before Mike Vrabel speaks to the media at 11:45. We'll carry that press conference for you live. More of your phone calls on the Titans' victory over the Broncos. Going to do some school history that was made by the University of Tennessee on Sunday, or rather Saturday as well. Coming up next, I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Get back to your phone calls here in just a second. We were talking about the roughing the passer penalty, and Puka, one of the great listeners to the show, tweeted me or tweeted both of us an article from the New York Post about the NFL tweaking the roughing the passer penalty, trying to get fewer penalties this season. Now, this was back in August, but it doesn't seem like that's actually happened. There were a record-breaking 154 roughing the passer penalties called last season, which resulted in more than 2,000 total yards lost for NFL teams. It's a crazy amount. It's absolutely insane.
Remind me, who was it called on the Titans yesterday?
So there was one called on Sam O, where he went low on Russell, put his hands up in the air afterwards. Russell looked back and got a late flag.
The late flag. That one on Sam O. So that's what Puka is tweeting us about, saying what Mike Keith and Coach Mack were talking about on the broadcast. Mike read the rule. Basically, the point is on that one, the reason Mike Vrabel was upset about it, Sam O is essentially engaged with a blocker the entire way.
Yep.
So if you're engaged with a blocker through the contact, that should not be a flag.
Interesting. But I think the optics of him going low, it's almost always going to get the flag. That's where he came up, which is it's a flaw. I mean, the rule is flawed.
No matter how much they tweak it, anytime they go low or anytime any sort of contact whatsoever is made with the helmet area of a quarterback, it's probably going to get called.
Yeah. We will get into the Vols. They made a little more program history on Saturday in just an absolute butt whooping of Missouri. Little vengeance on Eli Drinkwitz for as much fun as he was having at the expense of the University of Tennessee on whose show? I can't remember whose show.
It was Jim Rome.
Jim Rome. Rick in Hendersonville first. Hello, Rick.
Hey, guys. I'll tell you what. I hope Vrabel listens to your show and takes notes on how to coach his football team.
Rick, I can tell you there is a 0% chance of that.
Well, I just love these calls from armchair coaches.
That's right.
No, the reason I called, though, is let's throw some positivity in there. How about Ryan Stonehouse?
Yeah.
And how he flips the field.
He is. I thank you for the call, Rick. Among several positive things for the Titans yesterday, some things not great, some things less than ideal, some things poor. But what Ryan Stonehouse is, he's just out there killing it as a rookie. Like, this guy is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I looked at, so he averaged net 47.3 yards per punt. They had
54. He averaged 54 yards per punt.
Net. I'm looking at net punting average for the Tennessee Titans. I've got him at 47.3. In the final team statistics on the game book for this. Maybe on average.
Yeah, his 8 punts totaled 432 yards. Yeah. Which is a 54-yard average. That's 4 football fields. And hey, Corliss Waitman of the Denver Broncos, I mean, a hat tip to him. He had a couple like rough ones, but 9 punts for 411 yards.
9 punts.
There were over 800 yards of punts on Sunday in Nissan Stadium.
9 punts for 45.7 total average. The Titans punter, Ryan Stonehouse, 8 punts, 54 yards on average. The net average, though, 47.3. Still outrageous. Just crazy. And, a lot of times, like, it was just like, hey, I'm just going to get the touchback here. Like, there was a couple of plays where the gunner is the one who runs on kickoff, not. I always confuse my terminology on special teams.
No, the gunner's on the punt team.
Okay, that's why I get confused. Anyway, sprinting down to the end zone, they made a couple of nice plays to keep the punts out of the end zone, to pin them deep, to continue to put Russell Wilson in that Broncos offense that we're already struggling with into poor field position. But for the purposes of Ryan Stonehouse and the Titans, like, he is a legitimate weapon. They have found, it seems almost implausible, like they have found a souped up version of what they already had, and what they already had was an all-pro. Like, it's pretty crazy to see on a regular basis. Let's talk though about the University of Tennessee, because we'll spend more time on the Vols, like the details of that game tomorrow. But some program records that continue to be broken as they manufacture offense all over the place, and they put 66 on Missouri's head. What jumped out to you from the performance that the Vols had at home in their final home game of the season?
Well, the program record that was broken on Saturday was total yards in one game. So Tennessee racked up 724 yards of offense. That is the highest mark ever in a single game in the history of Tennessee football. 66 points is not a program record for a single game. It is a record in the Josh Heupel era. I believe that's actually the highest mark Josh Heupel has ever achieved as a head coach. The Tennessee record for points in a game is 70 in a 70-3 win over Louisiana Monroe in the early 2000s. But the point of this game was program record for single game yardage of 724, 38 unanswered points there in the second half. When things got nervy, you got to credit Brady Cook and Mizzou for hanging in there. A deep touchdown to make it 28-24 in the third, and you're looking around thinking, okay, is this going to be a game? And then Tennessee ensured that it would not be a game. They could have been just fine with 59 and winning the game, but they went for those style points that we've talked about, and that sparked a little bit of conversation from the broadcast team. And but at the end of the day,
what did you make of the broadcasting?
They were fine, man. People are complaining about it. Tom McCarthy and Rick Neuheisel of CBS Sports. Look, these guys' jobs. It's a neutral broadcast, network television. They parachute in. They call the game for the neutral viewer. That's it. That's their job. Everybody complains because they don't call the game as if they're talking to people that watch the team week in and week out. And that might be a problem in and of itself. But their job is to come in, call the game as a neutral broadcast crew that has not seen Tennessee football yet this year. It's not an easy job to do. So I was fine with Tom McCarthy and Rick Neuheisel.
Yeah, they said the obvious thing. Now, what their personal feelings are on the idea that Tennessee was running up the score.
Right. No, that was the misguided part of it. It was Neuheisel, like they got to take a knee here. So they were kind of missing that point of it at the end. Like, no, 66 points. You do what you can in this playoff era that we're in.
Yeah. Listen, it's not their fault that they're playing the game within the game. You know? It's not their fault that the optics actually do matter in these spots. Now, it's unfortunate for Missouri, and maybe they enjoyed that a little bit too. Why not? Let's go and smack Eli Drinkwitz around a little bit.
Credit Eli Drinkwitz after the game. He was asked about it. He said, no, I don't care. I'm supposed to stop it.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't out there complaining about it. The post-game handshake was amicable.
It looked like they might have like they were going to keep it a little closer than I anticipated
early
on.
It did look like that for a while.
It just hit them like a tidal wave.
Now, the UT Martin game, Tennessee was running it up a little bit. Because style points against UT Martin don't really have as much of an impact as opposed to style points against an SEC opponent in the top 20 defense and all those things. But the post-game handshake after the UT Martin game was a little icy between Josh Heupel and Jason Simpson. Maybe that has something to do with how the recruitment went down of current Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, the son of Jason. But this was amicable. Eli Drinkwitz, after the fact, for as much criticism as he gets for saying cute things, he basically said, I'm fine with it. That's just how it goes.
I like how you said it almost Game of Thrones-esque. Ty Simpson, son of Jason.
Ty, son of Jason, of House Simpson.
First of his name. I thought that the most intriguing part of that game, because, you know, once they get rolling like that, like, I kind of check out a little bit until Joe Milton comes in, because there have been a couple of games like that this year. I'm like, all right, let's see if there's any difference in the experience from what I normally associate with the Joe Milton experience. And God help them if he's actually figured out how to put touch on the football.
And look, Joe Milton, I am willing to say, is probably their starter next season. So if you're going to put him in, you want him to run your offense.
Oh, for sure.
You're just trying to develop your future quarterback. So
for sure.
I don't think anybody should have a problem with it. Don't put him in just to take a knee. That's no fun.
No, and why wouldn't you want to watch him just absolutely
air it out
in ridiculous ways?
The ball traveled like 70 yards.
It really is. It is spectacular to watch them. Anyway, 615-737-1045. Don't forget, Mike Vrabel is going to speak to the media. We'll carry that press conference live at 11:45. We need to get into this Titans depleted defense. Short week, quick turnaround. Green Bay coming off a win, and you're headed to their house. We'll talk about that coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:02. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans passing game got going on Sunday as it was a bounce-back effort to knock off the Denver Broncos 17-10 in Nissan Stadium.
Going to give Henry a turn. He pitches it back to Tannehill. He throws deep right side. There's Westbrook. Akine 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, end zone. Touchdown! Titans! Oh, goodness! Return to sender.
Yo, yes. Oh, that's hell yes.
That is Mike Keith and Coach Mack on the Titans radio call. That flea flicker touchdown, 63 yards, gave the Titans a lead they would not relinquish in the third. Nick Westbrook-Akina, the recipient of it, he finished with 5 catches, 119 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The banged-up Titans defense sacked Russell Wilson 6 times, the most in the Mike Vrabel era, as the Titans improve to 6-3. The 5th-ranked Vols were in a one-score game in the third against Mizzou before scoring 38 straight to pull away and win 66-24. That sets a school record for single-game yardage with 724. Vols got some college football playoff help from Washington knocking off Oregon Saturday, but TCU did defeat Texas to stay undefeated. And Vanderbilt snapping a 26-game losing skid in SEC play, a 24-21 win at Kentucky. Mike Wright connected with Will Shepard inside the final 30 seconds for the game-winning touchdown. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second down. What's happening? Hour number 2 underway, off and rolling on this Monday. Hope your weekend was spectacular. We are happy to be back with you for another great week of content and conversation. Going to move fast, though. Thursday Night Football. Lucas, when you flying it up?
I am flying up as of now on Wednesday.
Wednesday after the show, Wednesday during the show? You're just going to leave me?
Yeah, I enjoyed doing that during the show.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Get a little break.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for your sacrifice. Yes, Lucas and I will be in Green Bay for Thursday Night Football. We'll do the show up there on Thursday and then head to Lambeau and see what there is to be seen. Before we pivot back into the Titans and talk about the defensive side of things, Lucas mentioned something that I failed to start the show today in the first hour, and something that absolutely needs to be talked about, needs to be celebrated, needs to be, I wish I had a champagne bottle. I'd pop it for Vanderbilt. First SEC win in now 2 seasons of Clark Lee. They do it over who?
Kentucky.
The entire state of Tennessee has Will Levis in hell. And it's nothing personal against Will Levis. I'm sure Will Levis is a lovely guy. I don't know him. His play has been underwhelming this year. Kentucky has been underwhelming this year.
His play has not been underwhelming this year.
His play has been underwhelming.
It's been terrible. It's just been terrible.
They have a lot of problems at Kentucky. He has not helped them, okay? Like, I'm trying to be diplomatic about this. Vandy knocked Kentucky off this weekend. It was incredible. 24-21, the Commodores. They outscored them. They outplayed them. They averaged more yards per play. It was insane. Hey, can you get the clip that Kayla tweeted? Kayla Anderson, our colleague in the mornings. She had a clip of Clark Lee, who met with the television broadcast after the fact. He's bundled up. He's clearly emotional because for Vanderbilt to achieve that and for Kentucky to fail in that spot at home at Mighty Kroger Field. I don't want to steal your line about a gallon of milk, but it seems like Clark Lee went and got that. Couple dozen eggs and took the W home as well in the checkout line at Mighty Kroger Field. Let's hear from Clark Lee after a very, very emotional moment for him and his program.
You got a bunch of guys that are fighting, and we're building a program. Building a program's hard. And it takes tough people that are aligned, doing the right things the right way. And that's what these guys are doing. I'm glad they got rewarded today.
So that was Clark Lee. It's a phone recording of the television broadcast. So for those of you who couldn't quite make that out, just getting very emotional about, this is the kind of stuff that we're building towards. This is the kind of stuff that we're working towards. And obviously it's not easy at Vandy. I could not have delighted. I've never loved Vanderbilt football more in my life than them beating Kentucky at home. That gave me just all of the good feels. Zach Reagan, my buddy at A to Z Sports, tweeted out a clip yesterday of Will Levis that is also worth playing before we pivot back into the Titans discussion, because there's a couple of things about this that need to be mentioned. And we'll talk a great deal more about Will Levis as we get through the NFL season and as the draft stuff starts to ramp up. But to look at his performances this year, and to see the way that they have struggled in a variety of different ways, UK thus far, he has been objectively bad. He had 109 yards, 11 of 23 as far as the passing was concerned, and an interception against Vandy, who is respectfully not. I mean, they're 4-6. They won their first SEC game. They did it over a Kentucky team that's 3-4 in the SEC this year, and a lot of the problems have been at quarterback. He has struggled with consistency. His offense around him has struggled as well. 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions and a QBR on the season of 54.3. It's bad. Like, he is way down there by any metrics, counting stats, or advanced as far as college quarterbacks go this year. And so in listening, do you have the clip from Reagan? In listening to his comments yesterday, I assume they were made yesterday, or at least I saw the clip yesterday. It just seems like the state of Tennessee has broken this poor man.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one thing when you're just not playing as well as the other team, but it's another thing when you're beating yourself and guys aren't doing the right thing and aren't locked in. And when that happens, it's frustrating. And I got a little more vocal with the guys today when those things happen, because that is unacceptable. We haven't seen it at a rate we did today yet this year. And the combination of that and being disappointed with myself and knowing that I could be doing better, and I try to keep my calm up there, but sometimes you need that extra motivation for your guys, which I tried to step up and do today, but didn't end up working out.
Did you watch this game?
I caught the end. So I did the A to Z Sports postgame show with Charlie Burris, so I was paying attention to the Tennessee game, but I did.
Wait, I'm sorry, you did what?
I did the A to Z postgame show with Charlie Burris.
Why are you trying
Saturday.
to take all of my jobs?
That's not your job.
No, but that's not a space that you've been before, and now you're there. Get the hell out of here.
That did not concern you whatsoever. Anyway,
it all concerns
Jonathan Crompton had a matter to tend to, and so Austin asked me to fill in, and I filled in. I have approximately 700 less pass attempts as an SEC quarterback than Crompton does, but
sure.
I enjoyed it. I drifted away from the Tennessee game, though, to watch the end, the bits and pieces of the fourth quarter, including the 80-yard drive engineered by Mike Wright.
Love that.
For Vanderbilt to win, as the touchdown pass to Will Shepard with, 24 seconds on the clock, ended up getting it done. And Kentucky is staring down the barrel of a potential 6-6 season. It is no guarantee that they will beat Louisville at home in that regular season finale rivalry game. Malik Cunningham, very dynamic quarterback. Louisville's been inconsistent this year, but Kentucky has shown us they can lose to absolutely anybody. They obviously have Georgia next week. That is an L, and so they will go into the Louisville game fighting for bowl eligibility. Or fighting for 7 wins.
Right.
They're already bowl eligible.
I do not want to steal anything from later in the week when we do winners and losers and then SEC observations. But at some point we have to talk about A&M. At some point we have to talk about Texas A&M.
They're about to be 4-8.
I don't know why I find it so funny. Maybe because I think the whole cult thing, it freaks me out, and it makes me inherently root against them.
Well, because we've never seen this before.
No.
We've never seen this coming off a number 1 recruiting class, the best in college football history. We've never seen this type of performance from a head coach with that type of contract that Jimbo Fisher has. I mean, A&M now has more losses than what their preseason ranking was, which was 6.
I don't know why I find it so funny. Like, it tickles me to death every time A&M loses, and it's just pictures of Jimbo all over the internet holding a literal, like three, what were those binders called that you bought in college? Like the giant binders with the dividers in them.
Yeah, the 3-ring binders.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just holding this giant thing that's supposed to be his offensive manual, I guess. With just papers flying all over the place and him looking completely flustered and confused.
It's the worst situation in college football right now.
It is delightful.
It has to be.
Me.
Has to be.
All right, let's talk about this Titans defense and the work that they were able to do before Mike Vrabel gets up on the podium. That press conference will come your way live at 11:45, and then our friend Niki Lattarulo from WSMV and the Titan pregame show that she does with Coach Mack and Mike Keith every Sunday morning. She'll be in studio as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Welcome back. Titans over the Broncos yesterday at Nissan Stadium in front of a cast of thousands, getting a win, a much-needed win in the conference, keeping your foot on the throat of a terrible football team. Not terrible defensively. They certainly gave them a good effort. And after that, what was Virgil's last name? Or was Virgil the player's last name who had his first career reception on that 66-yard touchdown?
Yeah, it's Jalen Virgil.
Jalen Virgil.
Yeah, App State.
Big spot. So the defense playing with a little more juice after that when both teams were held scoreless through the first quarter. Broncos got 10 in the second, and then the Titans needed that last drive ahead of the end of the second quarter to be able to get a touchdown on the board. But when they started the game with as many punts, 6 of their first 6 drives ending in a punt, they needed a good day from the defense. The defense was without Jeffrey Simmons, Amani Hooker, Bud Dupree, Christian Fulton with a hamstring injury. That is not good. Not an ideal situation. Now, perhaps they're trying to get him to Green Bay and make sure that he's available for a game against a quarterback who is also looking to get right and did, in fact, get right yesterday against the Cowboys, even though it was a bit of a slog for the Packers en route to do so. But without those 4 players, without Zach Cunningham, who was placed on IR, without who am I missing of the guys that were not available to play in that game? You have David Long, who gets hurt in that game and has to miss some time. So that got them to 6 starters. I mentioned Hooker. Who else are we missing on that defense?
Well, Farley left.
Well, Farley's not a starter. I'm talking starters. Like there was a point in that game when David Long got hurt that they were without 7 or 8 of their defensive starters on the field. Farley, by the way, got ruled out. Not like he wasn't questionable. He got ruled out with a back injury that he experienced on special teams. So had he gotten and Molden. We haven't even talked about Elijah Molden yet.
Groin.
Again with the groin, and he was ruled out also after having that brought back up. But I think that the defensive role players, we're not talking enough about these unsung heroes for the Titans defense yesterday. They just continue to bring it on a regular basis. They found ways to get involved with Josh Kalu, with Terrence Mitchell. Both guys made big plays in the secondary. There was a couple of pass breakups. Kalu had a shot at 2 different interceptions. Russ probably threw 4 interceptable passes yesterday, one of which was picked. But he had a couple of errant shots.
Let's ride.
Yeah.
We only can use it for, really today.
Oh, I don't know. They're going to be on television more. We could probably. He's going to play poorly again, and
True.
The world is going to see it.
It'll only relate to the Titans for really early this week.
Well, you can get as much run out of it today as humanly possible. As much run or as much ride as you.
When are they on primetime
Let's
again?
ride.
You're not even waiting to finish your own sentence because you get so excited to interrupt yourself with "Let's ride."
They're not on primetime for a while, thankfully.
Yeah, but they still have primetime television games after having. I think they've played like 4 or 5.
Next time we will see the Denver Broncos primetime, Week 14, Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos Chiefs, Sunday Night Football, Week 14.
I am so upset with myself for not thinking to go watch Russell's press conference last night to see if he said "Let's ride" as he walked off the podium.
We would have definitely seen it if he had.
I don't know, because I think at a certain point, there are so many 3-6, like terrible football teams right now, including the Broncos. The Raiders lost yesterday to Jeff Saturday's Colts. I saw all kinds of jokes being made about he's Jeff Sundays now on the internet. But Matt Ryan getting right. Matt Ryan had a 40-yard run.
Dual threat.
That's crazy.
So I'm looking through Russell Wilson's transcript, and funny enough, every single answer to every question is just "Let's ride." That's all he said, just over and over again. How do you feel following the 6 sacks and 20 hits? He just said "Let's ride."
That's not true. That's simply not true. I wish it was. It would make I would play the whole press conference. I would sit here and make people sit through a full 10-minute Russell Wilson every answer "Let's ride" press conference.
How frustrating is it losing coming out of the bye week? The opening question he just responded with
Let's ride.
Yeah. 615-737-1045. But it wasn't Jeff Simmons making Russell Wilson's life a living hell. It wasn't Bud Dupree. It wasn't Zach Cunningham. It wasn't Christian Fulton. It was Dylan Cole, Terrence Mitchell, Josh Kalu, DeMarcus Walker, again with Rashad Weaver and Mario Edwards. Naquan Jones got a sack. Like, these are all guys who you don't, I mean, Walker and Edwards, you probably think of more. Weaver has had to play a lot because of Dupree. So maybe we're past the point of considering these guys just role players or just numbers as opposed to associate like faces with them. But it has proven to be one of the deepest and most talented position groups on the defensive front in the NFL. Now, I don't know that it's outright talent as much as it's guys being put in positions to succeed. Mario Edwards and DeMarcus Walker have been in the NFL for a while and have not been this kind of effective in previous stops. In fact, it was a DeMarcus Walker revenge game last night because he had been a member of the Denver Broncos for a couple of seasons. He played fine there, but nothing overtly memorable. If I recall correctly, he was a fairly high draft pick. I'll go back and look that up later. But basically, they continue to produce no matter who's out there. And we played you the clip of Mike Vrabel earlier about guys stepping up on the defensive line, but I do think it's worth hearing again because the way that they continue to get that pressure really speaks to a symbiotic relationship between the talent that they are having to acquire in the middle of seasons and the coaching staff who now understands, all right, here's how I'm going to maximize X, Y, and Z.
It's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge for us to go out there and keep battling in all three phases. I thought that they never quit and they tried to pick each other up and support each other. And when the offense needed to play, the defense was able to come and help. When we made a mistake on offense or we gave up a touchdown on defense, or we needed a drive offensively, needed a big play, and I thought our special teams kept us in there and did a great job with field position.
Dupree or Jeffrey Simmons, you still maintain that four-man front, 4 years, 6 sacks. What was the key to being able to still, do that with those four guys?
Well, I think, that they probably weren't at 100% either, and it's how it goes in this league. And I know that those guys took advantage of their opportunities. DeMarcus and Mario and Danico and the whole crew. They played relentless and, unfortunately weren't able to get the stop there at the end on fourth down, but, they battled and they had them running and scrambling.
That's Mike Vrabel talking about the way that guys stepped up with all the injuries for the Titans yesterday. And this has been discussed a little bit, and we'll get some phone calls on this, but think about how far that defensive group has come. And we'll talk about Todd Downing later on the offensive side of things. But think about how little time has passed since the 2020 season, since the Titans had a historically bad pass rush and historically bad, specifically third down defense. They have completely flipped the script and changed what it is that people talk about them and changed what it is the perception of them has been. They have had players before. Jeff Simmons and Harold Landry have been here. Kevin Byard has been here. Christian Fulton got there in 2020 and is a part of this kind of turnaround, but it does go beyond the players. The players have to execute, and they've done well to find guys who can execute what it is that they want to run. But Shane Bowen is going to get head coaching looks this cycle. I don't know if he'll get a job. I don't know how many jobs are going to be open. I don't know how many franchises are looking for defensive-minded head coaches, although those guys do seem to have a proven track record of success. Shane Bowen was, public enemy number one all alone at the top for basically the entire 2020 season. Now, there was some different things going on there. Mike Vrabel was still kind of co-calling plays. Shane Bowen was still not the full-time DC. He was still outside linebackers coach and calling plays. Their defensive talent was much more poor. They don't have the kind of pass rush depth that they've been able to generate, and their secondary suffered as a result, also dealt with injuries. But Shane Bowen is going to go from scourge of the state of Tennessee to future NFL head coach if they continue to produce this way. They're one of the best third down defenses in football. They are consistently caving teams' heads in with four-man pressures, simulated pressures. Occasionally, they'll, the zone exchange pressures, all these different kinds of things that they're looking to do to make the quarterback think for an extra fraction of a second while they run a twist or a stunt up front. But if you were somebody who dragged Shane Bowen in 2020, you need to be giving that man his flowers because you don't know how much longer he's going to be around. And certainly things are trending in the right direction as far as his career trajectory is concerned. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Rick in Murfreesboro up next. Hey, Rick.
Hey, how's it going? Going
well.
Good. I was calling in to see what do you think the odds are that Titans bring on Frank Reich to be the OC next year? I'm going to hang up and listen on the radio.
Well, I don't know. Todd Downing's still got a job. So, I mean, I have no idea what the end of the season is going to look like. I don't think Todd Downing's going to get fired or anything like that, even if they continue to be bottom of the league in a lot of counting stats. I think they're going to look at yesterday and say, overall, successful, and they need to clean up the penalties. The pearl clutching around Todd Downing, I mean, there's some of it that's justified, but a lot of it is just boring conversation to me. It's just it ignores the results. They're not consistently getting the kind of results that you hope for, and they can't continue to survive scoring 17 points the way that they have. Is that 3 straight weeks that 17 is what they've topped out at? I think that's right. I'll go back and fact check that here in just a second. But I do think so. In the same way that you talked about, all right, Shane Bowen, they got better talent, they got better defensively. Jim Schwartz, his impact, his influence, whatever the case may be. There's been some other staff changes too. So you looked at Todd Downing on offense and you said, okay, Tim Kelly is going to be the Jim Schwartz of the offense, right? Passing game is going to be more creative. We're going to find more ways to scheme guys open. Less ISO routes, and yet here they are, running ISO routes all over the place. So that hasn't happened yet. The talent on the offensive side of the football, you would describe it as below average by league standards? I would say so. Derek is singular. Nate Davis is... I'd probably put him, Nate Davis probably a top 10 right guard in the NFL right now. I think Nate Davis is a good player. I think NPF has a lot of potential, but he's not quite there yet. I think precious little of their receivers, their tight ends, and the offensive line has been, as a whole, has been diagnosed and discussed at great length. So they're a below average talent team on offense. So why is the same, discussion not being had around Todd Downing as it was Shane Bowen? I remember I got dragged the same way for talking about Shane Bowen. It's like, clearly it's not all his fault. You're just completely ignoring the results and all the other things that are going wrong in these games. And the fact that Jonathan Joseph is 800 years old out there running with Jamar Chase, rookie Jamar Chase, while basically being out on the football field with a walker. There's so many different ways to lose a game, offense, defense, special teams, that it is near impossible to pin it on one person other than it's a face that you associate, and that's the thing that you're going to blame. So for Shane Bowen, I mean, he's going to start getting looks. And that I think is its best case scenario because it continues to reinforce the idea that Mike Vrabel is good at identifying assistant coaches, specifically coordinators. But I mean, Frank Reich and the Titans, am I wrong? I understand why he's asking the question. Frank Reich's without a job. Todd Downing is scapegoat more often than not. But, am I wrong to I don't care about any of that right now? Well, that's such a long way away.
Yeah, right now, because the one thing I do continue to dismiss when it comes to the Downing conversation, because I do think it's fair you can't look at the results on offense. Injury, I know, has been a huge factor, but you cannot look at the results and say, okay, this is good enough, because it's absolutely not, right? Especially with the passing game. The passing
it was good
game
enough yesterday, but that's how
it
they're
was
going to
good
look
enough
at it.
yesterday.
That's
yes,
how they're going to look at it.
It was good enough yesterday against one of the worst offenses in the league.
But the top pass defense in football.
Sure, absolutely. And it spiked up yesterday.
I'm not advocating for or against. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you look at the totality of the performances on offense this year, it is completely fair for fans to be extremely frustrated. Completely.
Yeah, you can be frustrated. I'm not saying that you can't be frustrated. I'm just saying be smarter about your frustration. Like, understand that the frustration, is that too big an ask? You look at I literally saw your shoulders slump when I said be smarter about your frustrations. Am I being unfair and asking people to be reasonable about what they're frustrated with?
No, that's fair. That's fair. My biggest thing is fire Todd Downing. He's not going to get fired.
No.
He's not going to get fired this season.
Nope.
Look around the NFL. Show me the last time a head coach just fired his offensive coordinator in the middle of the season.
Marcus Brady.
In a year where, you let me finish, in a year where there's still something to play for, when they are leading the division, when they are the favorites to win the division.
Yeah, I can't think
It doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it does not happen in the NFL unless your franchise is a complete dumpster fire.
If that happens, there is something wrong.
There's something very wrong.
You don't want that to happen.
I know the Colts won somehow in Vegas yesterday, but the Colts are a dumpster fire. You only fire assistants and coordinators midseason if things are going horribly. Things were going horribly with the Indianapolis Colts. The Titans are 6-3. They're leading the AFC South. They are not going to fire a coordinator midseason. It's not going to happen.
You can hashtag it. You can tweet it. You can post it. You can send strongly worded emails to Mike Vrabel's suggestion box, which is his trash can. You can do all those things. You can do whatever it is that makes you feel better about the Todd Downing situation.
It doesn't mean you can't have criticisms. It doesn't mean you can't place blame, because there are a lot of things about this offense that have just not been good this year, that you can place blame on whoever you want to place blame. But to come here saying, how has he not been fired this week, is so stupid, I can't wrap my head around it. It just doesn't happen unless your franchise is in complete disarray. The franchise is as stable as it has been in over a decade.
So we're getting tweets now about this, and you're welcome to interact via Twitter. You're welcome to interact via Zone TV. We're live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, or the phone lines as you like. Lil Fudge 07, which I delight in reading into a microphone on a widely broadcast radio program. Lil Fudge 07 tweets us, imagine one good field goal against the Giants and holding on against the Chiefs, and Downing would have us at 8-1. But I'm not saying that Downing would have had you at 8-1. I don't know that Todd Downing specifically, individually, would have had you at 8-1. And again, it doesn't matter on a Monday after a win, a Monday after a loss. I do not like doing the results thing of, well, if this had happened, if Randy makes the field goal, if they, are able to hold down Mahomes for another drive or score, whatever. Like, I don't care. You have the results in hand. The team is 6-3. They are not 8-1. The situations are what they are. But do not overcorrect either way with coordinators. Offense, defense, special teams, don't overcorrect either way. It is a wasted exercise. It is wasted energy, and largely it's going to be futile. Because you know who was still here after having a historically horrendous defense? Because the head coach recognized, there's some things here that need to be corrected, and this thing will work fine. Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen is now being talked about as a potential NFL head coaching candidate, and that will continue to get louder. The better that defense does, the more people have to watch that defense, and the more NFL teams, personnel people talk about how much they like to watch. If you are talking to NFL people, they will tell you, if I want to throw on somebody and just see what this team is doing defensively, they talk about the Titans like that. Just out of curiosity. Let's see what they're running this week, because it's a copycat league. You hear the cliche all the time. But for Downing, and we'll talk about this later, we've got plenty more time to talk about Todd Downing, because the Malik play was the thing that really set this conversation aflame yet again, and I want to kind of walk through every element of that. But I think that I think that there's a lot of different things you have to consider with this, and we'll hear from Mike Vrabel about a lot of those things coming up next. Okay, Mike Vrabel is up at the podium. I'm going to shut up and get out of the way for the Titans head coach coming off their 6th win of the season.
In the physical recovery battle here the next couple of days, everybody deals with it. They had a tough game against Dallas that they were able to win in overtime, so they're dealing with the same things.
It seemed like you guys by design were avoiding Derek on 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 2 yesterday. Why go away from the bell cow in those situations?
Well, there's some situations where we feel like we're getting a more advantageous look when we do try to run the football. We can go back through the times that we've run it, and there's no answer. But when we did hand it off, I felt like we had a very advantageous look, and just didn't execute. We should have been able to convert that.
You look at your defensive linemen that have been able to cycle in and produce for you. Have you done a better job of putting them in position to succeed or coaching them into being better players?
Well, I think all the credit goes to the players. They take advantage of the opportunities. They've stopped the run so that therefore you can, have a chance to affect the game and rush. I think you earn the right to rush the quarterback, and this week will be the same thing. This team has rushed for over 400 or 200 yards in 4 games. 3 of the 4 games that they've won. So they can run it with the best of them. They got 2 great backs. It looks like the line is coming together. They've had some moving parts there in the past couple weeks, but it looks like that's solidified. So this will be a huge challenge to play the run this week.
You look at the difference between the Chiefs game and yesterday. How much do you think went into you guys putting the receivers in better positions to make plays as opposed to last week? Or do you think that was the players doing
it? I don't even. We're going to focus on how we can get them open this week in the Packers, and what they may try to play us in. That's really the focus, is trying to look to 1st and 2nd down today, and 3rd down tomorrow. Not try to look and see each week who did a good job, who did a bad job. We're all in it together. It's going to have to be the protection. It's going to have to be the play call. It's going to have to be recognizing the coverage. It's getting the football out of our hand, finding the guy that we like, and that'll be a huge part of this week. And can we convert on 3rd down when we have to, and hopefully we can continue to we have to run the football better so that we can marry some of those play passes.
Something good seems to happen every time you guys throw to Chig. It seems like the natural progression would be to go to Chig.
We would like to, yep. Yeah, that would be, trying to continue to find ways to get him the football, and, again, when he's out there running a route, like I tell every player that's out for a route, your job is to get open, and, you can't control whether you get the ball or not. That's up to the quarterback. So we'll continue to try to find ways to get everybody involved and do things to help us. But yesterday came through with a big catch. Ryan delivered a nice ball that was over top the linebacker. So I agree.
Can you help me understand? You and Todd have said consistently with him you would like to, but you don't. So I'm trying to understand how it goes from liking to doing.
We'll see where it goes this week, and as far as helping you out, that's probably the last thing I would do.
Talk about the challenge, I guess, of the short week. Do some things get eliminated?
I don't know if it gets eliminated, Jimmy, but you just try to do some things that you have a lot of banked reps on and a lot of confidence in, and there's going to be some game plan things that we have to put in based on what they do. But I don't think things, necessarily get eliminated. You just are probably going to carry, some of your base stuff and that you have a lot of confidence in, and then, add a few things. But I don't think we could add a whole lot.
How much of that offensive scheme and route concepts are similar to what he did here, or has it been too long to go back and kind of?
I think there's been some carryover, but I think there's been some new things and probably some things that the quarterbacks, that Aaron liked that they've had, that I would say that,
maybe we didn't do or Matt did when he was here. So, each year things change. I think there's some concepts. They do a great job running the football. They do. They run it from under center. They run it from gun. The RPO element, the quarterback is very good at that. Making decisions and getting it out of his hand.
You guys have done a good job, frankly, taking people out of the running game and having a few of them here recently abandon it altogether. Are you pretty confident that Green Bay is going to stick with it?
Yeah, they did. Yesterday they were down, and, when they, wanted us to get things going, they kept with that. They ran it 40 times, and
Mike Vrabel appears to have frozen at the podium, which is timely because Niki Lattarulo of WSMV is here in studio. Hey, bud.
Hello. How
you?
are we?
We are great.
We are great.
He's back live? Okay. Well, then we don't
All right,
have
bye.
to continue. Go ahead,
Nice
Mike.
seeing ya.
Take it away.
Attack, and that'll be a critical piece to the game.
How did Ryan come out of the game, and how did you think he played yesterday?
I thought he was probably average. I think just getting back in there, I thought he made some good throws. I thought there were some decisions that, he probably could have made that were better. But then also, there's some, everybody's kind of in that same vein, right? Everybody's got to be on the same page. We've got to, protect. We've got to be where we're supposed to be. There's a timing element to it at times, but Ron will be the first to tell you that wasn't his best game, but he came through with some big throws when we needed it. He was able to scramble and get a huge first down. Was able to recognize the blitz zero, get us into a check and throw a touchdown. So there's a lot of really good things as well.
Holmes and Wilson got involved, especially on some of those combat catches. I know that's the thing that you
well, the thing I liked most is he made a mistake. He jumped off sides. He false started. He moved. We lined back up and called play, and made a catch and bounced off a couple guys and got us a big first down. So that's really what I'm taking away. From that was just, hey, that's a perfect example of a guy making a play. Not letting it affect him. And coming back and being available for the quarterback and, fighting through some contact, breaking 2 tackles.
Has Todd Downing done all of the play calling this year, Mike?
Again, we've been through that. As far as the play call, Todd talks to the quarterback. So whether he calls every play, I tell him I want a play called. But he talks to the quarterback.
You satisfied with the way play calling's gone this year?
Yeah, I think as long as the play calls are given to the signal caller in a timely fashion and that we have time to get out there, whether it's offensively or defensively, make a call. I think players are more important than plays. I think teammates are more important than players. So hopefully, we're getting these guys the call and they understand the details, but there's no magic call. We called a flea flicker yesterday. It was very well executed by the players, and that's why we scored a touchdown. So, we have to make sure that we're getting them the call, which I think we are, and that we're communicating, and the call that we're getting, that everybody understands what's being asked of them.
Well, you don't think innovation
Next
beyond
question.
How have you seen Terrence Mitchell improve and become a consistent player throughout the year?
Well, he just kind of kept grinding. He's played in this league, and he's played for different teams, and the one thing about T. Mitch is I don't think he ever, lets anything affect him like a lot of, good corners. They give up plays. They give up passes on him. And they have, people catch balls on him in this league. And they came back yesterday and knew what was the challenge was going to be. Was going to have to defend the throws down the field. And, on the first or early 3rd down and 4, whatever it may have been, they tried him down there. He was in good coverage, didn't foul. And I think that kind of really fed on to kind of the rest of the game and how he played.
How have you seen McCreary grow across this rookie season with all the pressure that's being put on him?
I think Rodgers comes to work every day and tries to improve and get better. He competes and, sometimes he grabs them once or twice, but so do a lot of guys, and sometimes those get called and sometimes they don't. But he's been a very good tackler.
he shows up and is a willing tackler, and he's competitive, and he's just he shows up every day ready to work and learn. So I appreciate that.
How about the process, just of going into the week, determining what plays are going to be up, what's going to be down, what works, with Tim Kelly involved and with Todd Downing? Like, what do you like about that process? Like how everything's coming together?
Well, I meet with them. I see them meet. I think they work through, a game plan. They put things together. Meet with Keith and formulate the run game. I'll come in, give my ideas, talk through it. Goes on a call sheet. It's called to the quarterback.
The two quarterbacks you played, good preparation for the way you have to rush the passer with Aaron this weekend?
Well, I mean, he can still scramble. The teams have been able to, affect him. He's got, 7 fumbles, but, if you let him stand there, he can create throws from all different levels. And I would say that, it is probably a pretty good lesson of, you're going to have to be relentless. You're going to have to be coordinated because, he's not what he was, doesn't run like he was when he was younger, which was very good. Now he's just mobile enough to create and buy time to throw the ball down the field, which, I think ultimately is what he wants to do.
Mike Christian Watson showed up yesterday with 3 touchdowns. How dangerous can that rookie be, considering the banged-up secondary you have?
Dangerous is somebody that coming off a 3-touchdown performance that threw the ball down the field. So he's got speed, he's got good size. So he had a few drops. I think that they've stuck with him, and it looked like it paid off. Some contested catches down the field that he was able to come up with yesterday.
Maximizing players, being unpredictable, being innovative, are those important qualities in an offensive coordinator to you?
I think that, as we look this week with how we're going to try to formulate a game plan versus the Packers, it's going to be about, who we feel like we have available, how can we run the football with, one of our best players, which is Derek, our ability to try to get it, earn first downs early in the drive. You see the difference when we're able to put the drives together, and as opposed to stall out because there's pressure or we aren't able to execute on third down. So there's a lot of things that I think that go into coaches and players working together, and it's making sure that there's clear communication and everybody has an understanding of what's being asked of them.
That's Mike Vrabel talking about yesterday's win over the Broncos. We'll get more of your phone calls. Niki is here, and we'll have a lot to discuss. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:05. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans passing game got going on Sunday in a bounce-back effort to knock off the Denver Broncos, a 17-10 final at Nissan Stadium. Ryan Tannehill, 19 of 36, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Titans defensive line missing several starters, but sacked Russell Wilson 6 times on the day.
Wilson, play fake, rolling right, looking deep, hit, sacked! DeMarcus Walker says, "Why did you let me go, Denver?"
Mike Keith and Coach Mack on the Titans radio call. 6 sacks in one game. That is a high in the Mike Vrabel era. And it's a short week for the Titans as they get ready to travel to Green Bay for Thursday night football. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Here we go. Third hour off and rolling. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. I'm Buck Rising. I'm here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas Panzica is back there making it go. Niki Lattarulo, WSMV, in the house with us for at least a segment or two. How are we living?
We're doing great. The vibes are great in here.
The vibes are
great. The new
great.
studio, immaculate vibes, I have to say.
You know, I have the ability to adjust the lighting.
I was just
going to
say the
mood.
lighting is great in here.
It is very vibey. It gives off, it's giving East Nashville Dive Bar.
Can you change the colors?
I can, as a matter of fact. It's a little like touchpad thing that I run my finger in a circle on, and it you can rotate between the full color wheel.
Wait, that's sick.
That's beautiful. Nobody can see this because this is radio and this is an audio medium.
If I had to paint you a picture, the vibes are great in here and the lighting is not harsh, so it puts you in a good mood.
Yeah, it's we love to see it. 615-737-1045. That's the number if you want to jump in. We can take some calls. We can talk about everything that happened yesterday between the Titans and the Broncos. Vibes immaculate at Nissan Stadium.
Yes, they were. No, they weren't.
A quarter and a half. I would say a quarter and a half good vibes at Nissan Stadium, or basically any time that the defense or Ryan Stonehouse was on the field. Big vibes.
Agree.
But I actually need Lucas to do his job and run me over with some breaking news sound, please. Maybe. Testing. Is the computer buffering?
I can give you my breaking news voice.
What's wrong? Do you want me to just keep talking? Yeah, so you can do it anyway.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
I have a tweet from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network on Caleb Farley, who was ruled out yesterday with a back injury he suffered in a special teams play. Suffered a disc injury on Sunday, according to Rap Sheet. He's having more tests to determine how significant it is and how much time he'll miss. Noted expert Dr. Robert Watkins is expected to weigh in on Farley when his testing is complete. Now, Lucas, if you could look up for me because it was disc related, the back injury in college for Caleb Farley, if memory serves. I don't have specific details on that, but if we could flesh out more information, that would be helpful. I mean, He was one Terrence Mitchell, Roger McCreary, Elijah Molden injury from having to play yesterday, and then he himself got ruled out. Caleb Farley.
Because isn't this wasn't a back injury what people were saying was why he fell in the draft, or was that not him?
Yeah, no.
That was him,
so he had a
right?
back injury, and then he had a scope, a cleanup procedure prior to the draft that kind of scared people off.
Yes, okay, I remember that. I didn't know I forgot if that was him.
So we'll keep you updated with the latest, but not a good sign for the Titans for a former Titans first-round pick. And as more information becomes available, I think it's fitting that Mike probably just wrapped his press conference and then the Rap Sheet tweet came out.
He wasn't about to try to answer questions about that during the presser.
0% chance.
No, absolutely not. Smart.
So what did you make of the game yesterday? Because as you said, the vibes were immaculate for about a quarter and a half of total game time.
I was happy to see Ryan Tannehill back, but I didn't think, obviously, he looked his best because I don't think he's at 100%, obviously.
No.
But the defense, without those guys, I don't know what this team is. This defense is really good. And Also, before the game, I feel like people were thinking that it was going to be a disaster because the pass rush was missing their main people. But
That's
the
a fair
defense,
assumption.
The defense literally looked great. I feel like every person on the defense steps up and looks great. The offense, I just feel like at what point can you put up that little points and still keep winning? Like, I don't know. I didn't think they looked.
3 straight weeks where
Is
they've
it
only been
17?
able to get to 17.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that was the exact number, but I don't know. Like the offense is just they don't do enough, and then eventually they're not going to be able to pull out the wins with only 17 points. The defense is saving them.
The defense is spectacular, but like I opened the show with I thought that was as gutsy a performance from Ryan Tannehill as I've seen. Even as they, they 6 straight punts was brutal, and like the Broncos are awful. Literally, the highlight of the game was the "Let's Ride" jokes that were made at the expense of Russell Wilson, and the literal.
What happened to Russell Wilson? Like, I'm just confused because why was he so good and now he's just not? Like, what changed?
Mr. Unlimited. I don't know. Schizophrenia. I don't know what's happening there.
See, nothing ever happened. Like he just was good and now he's not.
I mean, sometimes that happens when you get it's a new spot for the first time in your career. It's a new coaching staff. It's a new system.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's objectively awful.
Yeah,
right now.
not good.
So
not good.
This will be the subject of much of Denver Sports Talk Radio, and perhaps Nathaniel Hackett will even be fired by the end of the season, as many people were alluding to yesterday. But yeah, the Titans defense is keeping them in those games, but the Titans passing game won it yesterday, Nikki.
Yeah. How about NWI?
I know. Well,
Honestly, good for him.
I kind of lit into NWI a little bit on last Monday.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, why?
Because he made that comment about, nobody was asking us these questions about how much better A.J. Brown is doing in Philadelphia versus the Titans wide receiving core. And he said something like, nobody was saying these things to us when we were out here making plays. And I remember looking at him in the Kansas City locker room being like, what plays?
Yeah, when?
Find me a play. Name a play beyond the 61-yard catch that you had in Washington for your total of 7, to that point, 7 catches on the season. Yesterday he had 5, yeah.
I think they needed that yesterday or it would have been, people would have lost their minds.
Oh, sure.
Like, the fact that those 2 touchdowns were passing touchdowns was like, okay, they needed that, or Todd Downing people would be extra mad.
Oh, people are still mad at Todd
Okay, they're
Downing.
mad, but
I'm
at
looking
least
at my
they
call
made
screener
catches.
right now. I got at least 2
The
Todd Downing
topics are
calls to
both
get to.
because you can't have 2 straight games with the receivers not making a catch. That's big bad.
You can't.
That's big, huge bad.
Robert is in Virginia. Wants to chime in on the Titans. Hello, Robert.
Who you say, Buck? How you doing, baby?
I'm living good, brother. Talk to me.
Talk to me.
Hey, man, I just was here you talking, man, and we talking about giving our defensive coordinator, man, his flowers. But I think if we're gonna give him the flowers, man, we got to give it to the whole team, man, because I don't think there's a team ever that has been through as much as this team has been through, man, for all these years with these injuries and stuff like that, man. And they just continue to find a way to win, and everybody just got to pump their brakes a little bit, man. Everybody calling in for everybody to be fired. What the hell you want to be? Do you want to be the Colts?
Hey, Colts got a dub yesterday too, bud.
That's facts.
Thanks for the call, Robert. I appreciate it. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. So, I mean, I did. Shane Bowen is kind of going, because this predates your time here, working in local sports. Why don't we talk about the Todd Downing situation? Talk about the Shane Bowen situation. How those kind of mirror each other at different points in time, and we'll talk about the play that almost lost the game with Malik Willis inserted
I knew you were gonna
into
bring
the
that
lineup.
Up. I knew you were. We have to bring it up.
That's what I do. Niki Lattarulo in studio. I'm Buck Rising. This is 104.5 The Zone. Until 1 o'clock, 615-737-1045. Niki Lattarulo in studio with us. You can catch Titan Game Day Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m. on WSMV. Chris Harris, our buddy, over at Channel 4. Coach Mack, Mike Keith, Jimmy Wyatt, all gang hanging out on a Sunday morning with Nikki and the crew. Those look like it's a fun cast.
No, it actually is fun. I love when I get to interview with Jim. I love Jim. I feel like I see a different side of him on game days than I do at practice.
Really?
Yeah,
no,
practice.
Jimmy, I think is consistent in who he is.
No, like, yes, but at practice, he's in the zone. Like, he's at the press conference. He's asking the questions. At games, I'm just like, what's up, Jim? Make conversation. I don't get one-on-one with Jim ever at practice.
Well,
we're like squatting up at practice.
That's on you. You should hang out with Jimmy more at practice.
Jimmy without the visor is just a whole new person.
It is. We talked about schizophrenia with Russell Wilson. Mr. Unlimited. That's two different Jim Wyatts out here. Super serious reporter at practice.
Yep. Visor super fan.
The visor is the best. So let's talk about something that not a lot of people were happy with yesterday, despite the Titans winning. Lucas, do you have whenever you have a moment, the call of the Malik Willis situation where Ryan Tannehill comes out for a play? Now, there's no injury to indicate that Ryan Tannehill needs to come out of the game. It's a very critical moment in the game that the Titans are keeping control of, but as per usual, the margin for error.
It could have ended so much worse if the defense couldn't pick up the slack.
I've seen them end it so much worse. And the mistake, they were bailed out specifically by the defense.
Exactly.
Because, the Todd Downing fourth quarter play call involving backup quarterback Malik Willis. Malik Willis tries to get the handoff cleanly, does not, fumbles, and the Titans are able to make a stop, get the ball back, and allow them to hang on for the win. So let's start with the play itself. Okay, fourth quarter.
Yes.
Game in hand, but not
Too
really.
close for comfort.
Too close for comfort.
You don't want to be making those type of mistakes.
So how much blame do you put on Todd Downing for calling that play in that moment?
I think he had faith in Malik. Like, I don't think that it was one of those things where, I mean, it's a little bit risky, I would agree. But after Malik gets to start for 2 straight weeks, you don't think he's going to fumble a handoff, personally.
Right.
So I don't think it's that. When did he fumble when he was in with Ryan? Was that 2 games? Was that the game he got hurt?
It was the Colts game, yeah.
Okay, so
October 23rd.
in that moment, I was like, that was a stupid call. Like, why are you even trying to do that? When Malik starts 2 games, and he didn't play horribly against the Chiefs, he didn't fumble any handoffs, did he?
No.
So it's like, why would Todd Downing get smack? I'm not going to say it. I can't curse.
No, you can't curse. That's right.
Why would he get hate? Why would he get hate
for
just putting him in to take a handoff? Like, I don't think it's that crazy. It was just unfortunate. It was unfortunate.
That's because you're a reasonable and logical and nuanced person in your diagnosis of what went wrong.
If I'm a fan, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you putting him in? Like, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But watching him play the past 2 weeks, like, there's no reason to think he's going to fumble a handoff. They have enough faith that he could hold on to the ball.
So here's the thing. Okay, I didn't like the call. It seemed needless to me. Like, my reaction, and you're welcome to jump in on this at any point. 615-737-1045 is the number. I looked at that, and when I saw him trotting out on the field, I said, oh, bleep. Like,
at first, I thought Ryan maybe was hurt. And then I realized what was happening, and I was like, oh, I wrote it down. Malik, and I was like, this could be good. And then I was like, oh, no.
Nope, not good. Not good at all. I did not like the situational call. Now, I am going to be less critical of that than I am on Malik's inability to handle a snap.
Yeah, I don't know why he just choked in that situation when he just started 2 games. That's what I was just like, how do you just fumble the ball in that situation? Maybe it just happened fast. Like, you don't know. I never played football. But after 2 starts, all you have to do is
handle a
exactly.
snap.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's Todd Downing's fault.
I agree, but the amount of hate that both of us have seen and that we have seen consistently all season long for Todd Downing is kind of like those are those crystallizing moments for people.
Yes, and I think if I were him, I feel not that you should play it safe, but I don't know if you should be making those calls, especially when you know how people are going to react. But if it went well, it would have not been a problem.
I don't ever want them to think about what
situation.
people think about their play calls. I want them to care less, if humanly possible. I know Mike Vrabel doesn't give a damn about what people think about
I don't
what
think
they
Todd
do.
Downing cares either what people
I
think. He
agree.
knows he's not getting fired.
Yes, he's
so
not.
it's like, okay, who
Say
cares?
it again louder. He knows what?
He's not getting fired.
No. For all your hashtags on the internet,
Everyone
it's not
that's saying
happening.
hashtag fired Todd Downing, like he's literally not getting fired. They have a winning record. They're fine. They're winning.
They're winning their division.
They're just the offense isn't great, but the wide receivers are not great. It's not. He's not getting fired, especially in the middle of the season.
615-737-1045. How about Andrew in Portland, who I believe wants to speak as an advocate for those who continue to tweet hashtag fire Todd Downing. Go ahead, bud.
So, first of all, I am one of those that does the hashtag fire Todd Downing. But y'all are not wrong. He's not getting fired. They're producing winning football. But I wanted to kind of shed some light on why folks like myself are tired of this Todd Downing crap. And I think it's more out of fear. So, back in 2020, we had the 4th-ranked offense in the league and the 24th-ranked defense, right? So then we go out, we hire Jim Schwartz, and it flips, right? We have a mediocre offense, 15th in the league, and then the defense is 6th in the league. This defense that we have this season is currently at 8th in the league, and our offense is at 25th in the league. And I think the reason that we are fed up with the way that Todd Downing calls games is because he makes some of the stupidest calls and some of the most crucial points in the football game when it's obvious that they're not the right times to make those calls. That flea flicker, it worked out great, but if you look at the tape, the defenders tripped over each other. So who knows if it would have even worked. But my point is this. There's a fear level there, in my opinion, because we have a defense that can win a Super Bowl, and we have an offense that should be like 2 and 15. Like, the offense is just trash. So, and I think it's because of the way that the game is called. He just doesn't have the ability to adapt and to call a fluent game. So I think the fear factor is there, and that's kind of where I am, at least, with it. So I appreciate the call, fellas.
Oh, just under the gun.
I kind of agree with what he's saying. I feel like as a Titans fan, you're holding your breath every time they're about to make a play. You're like, oh, what are they doing? Like, what is he going to do? Like, I get what he's saying.
No, I totally agree that there is a lack of situational awareness that confuses you.
I agree.
That confuses you because there's no reason for Malik Willis to be in the game.
Agree. Totally agree.
Other than the fact that they have zero offensive playmaking ability on a consistent basis. And so they're my whole thing is I walked out of that press box heading down to the locker room before we meet with Mike. And I'm thinking, all right, I can bury them for this easily. They should be buried for this easily. And I mean they across the board. The play call was poor. The time of the decision being made was poor. Malik's execution was poor.
Yes.
Collectively, they failed.
Yes.
On that spot. But also, if I am hammering them every day, basically, for the last 10 weeks of NFL football because they cannot do things creatively and then they try to get creative, am I going to also slaughter them when they throw some stuff at the wall and it doesn't stick?
Yeah.
That being said, there is too much at stake for them when the margin of error is so thin for them to get cute.
I agree. Like, there's just no reason for trying to do those things. But when you try to bring it up, they won.
Yeah,
you know
I know.
what I'm saying?
Which it's how they're
It's like you're not going
justifying
to go in and be like, you will say what happened on that, but at the same time they won. So it's like we won. All they want to do is find ways to win. They're not looking at all the little things that happened. I feel like if you ask Tannehill about when they win, even if it's like a really bad performance, they're like, we just found a way to win. Like, all we need to do is win or lose.
Well, in fact, let's hear from Mike Vrabel on Ryan Tannehill because it was a slog to start, 6 straight punts. They get the touchdown before at the 2-minute warning as time is getting ready to expire. I think they scored with about 12 seconds left on the clock. So Mike Vrabel was asked about, did you see Ryan Tannehill getting more comfortable, getting looser as that game wore on, and this was the head coach?
Well, I mean, I think that, I thought he hit some big throws. I thought the throw to Chig was a great throw, layered it, and, Hoop had the penalty, and then Hoop came back and had the big third down conversion. That's an example that we try to show the guys, like, yep, would have loved not to flinch there, Hoop, but, he came back and caught it,
broke a couple tackles and got a first down, and that's the message that we always try to send is, we're going to make a mistake, get back to centered, and try to figure out a way to go make it right.
So that's Mike Vrabel speaking to us collectively after the game last night on Ryan Tannehill. What did you think of him on the whole?
Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah.
I think for him being at what percentage he's probably at, I think he played like
health-wise.
Yeah, I don't think he played like that he was scared at all.
No.
I think he was putting probably some of the things he did he shouldn't have done because he probably could have got hurt more, like when he ran and just dove headfirst.
The 11-yard run. The man refuses to slide. I don't know how much the bum ankle affects the inability to slide, but he wasn't sliding before. It drives me insane.
I think it was like a mediocre performance, but what you expect after coming off an injury when you're probably not back to 100%, he didn't practice at 100% this whole week. I was like, I had nothing bad to really say about his performance.
No, I thought it was one of the more impressive performances that I've covered of his.
Especially knowing he's hurt. Like his foot's not fine. He was hobbling around.
Yeah, no, definitely after that scramble. He did not feel good
And now
after
he has
that.
to play again on Thursday. Like,
well, they all do.
I know, but when you're injured, you need that recovery time. So now he's just going to be like.
Could be out there hobbling around again.
Yeah, he's going to be hobbling again.
615-737-1045. Lucas, can I hear the play call from Mike Keith of the fumble itself,
I
of
didn't
the
hear
situation? Let the maestro, Mike Keith, the voice of the Tennessee Titans, set the scene.
Read option dropped by Willis, and it's recovered by the Broncos.
So in that moment, the collective air is let out of the stadium, and it was tough to get any kind of energy in there anyway. The offense was terrible. The defense was doing their best to keep them in it, but it was it felt like the crowd got lulled to sleep as that game was going on, and you just see David Long frantically waving his arms on the field, trying to get people into the game, and they find the juice at the end of the first half, and they carry it a little bit over. Nick Westbrook has a big performance. They make some big plays on special teams. Dylan Cole, like a bat out of hell.
Tank.
The human bicep is Dylan Cole.
Literally, that man is a tank.
But so they get a couple of plays, and you start to see that materialize. But then you come back to the Malik thing, and I don't know how many times they need to try stuff like that before I say okay, enough. Because I still think they need to find ways to creatively take advantage of the fact that the dude can make a play.
Yeah.
But he has to be able to execute.
But it's just the little things. Like, if you can't even get the ball in your hands, then you can't do anything.
But
So
he did it for 2 straight games,
That's why that's the frustrating part. The first time that they did it against the Colts, I was like, okay, well, he's never really taken an NFL snap. So it's like he must have just been cracked under pressure. He just started 2 games and really didn't look horrible in Kansas City. He looked fine in Kansas City.
I didn't think he looked great, but
okay, he looked better than I thought he would. You thought he looked worse?
I thought he looked the same. I thought it was very similar.
I was just surprised that he didn't make as many mistakes as that. Like, I thought there'd be picks.
The bar
and
is
fumbles.
very low.
Like, okay, but he didn't fumble a snap every multiple times. He didn't fumble a snap at all, did he?
No.
But then why one play?
The most important play.
That's what I'm saying. That's
play
the
when
frustrating
everybody's
part.
looking at it.
And I think the fans, when they saw him come in, they were either like, oh, because I wasn't at the game at that point.
Yeah.
I was watching it on TV.
Yeah.
But
Because you had to
feel
go
like,
back and anchor, right?
Yeah.
By
so
the way,
I
Niki
stayed for
Lattarulo, WSMV, here
Hey
in
guys,
studio with us.
Tune in, of course. I'm on Wednesday through Sunday. Anyways, I feel like people see him come in and they're like, oh, is Tannehill hurt? Or are they going to do something stupid? And then when that happens, I feel like it's even more deflated because you're just like, why was he even in the first place?
Let's go to Paul in Hermitage next. Hey, Paul.
Hey, man. How y'all guys doing?
We're good.
Hey, a couple things. Been a Titans season ticket holder for 20 years and love my Titans. However, yesterday, my wife said to me, I bet none of those receivers could ever get COVID because they can't catch shit.
No. Paul, no, you can't say that on the radio. Lucas, did you get it?
Yep.
It's a great joke.
You know what? I got a vibe from Paul. I'm not going to lie.
What do you mean?
Second he started talking.
He might be a wild card.
He had his finger on the color bars
I don't
ready
know.
to go.
I don't know what it was. Second I got close to the dump button, just something flared up in my head.
I
Said,
didn't
you know
get that
what?
vibe at all.
Maybe it's because we have Paul and Franklin that calls in all fired up about the Vols.
Yeah, but
So
Paul
whenever
and
we have a
Franklin is
Paul
a different
caller-
kind of energy.
Sure.
We have several different Pauls, but yeah, Paul, you can't say that word on the radio. 615.
Is Paul still here? No, we cut him up. Bye, Paul.
We have a,
Bye, you're done.
We have a button. It literally says dump button. So
I thought it just beeps it, like it just like cuts it off. I didn't know they completely get hung up.
Well, yeah, that's something that he has to physically
He's
dive
blocked. He's
dive
blocked.
across the.
Block him.
Yeah, you don't get to say any more words after that.
Yeah, we don't trust you. Trust
cut off.
issues coming back out, of course.
All right, 6-1. Let's try again. Let's see if somebody else has a little bit of cleaner language in their analysis. How about Ronnie in Gallatin?
Ronnie, Jersey Shore.
No.
Hey, guys. Malik wasn't brought in to hand the ball off. I never did go back and look at it, but when he was brought in, he was supposed to fake the handoff to the running back, to Derek, and turn around and do a naked bootleg the other way. And like I said, I didn't look at it as far as the blocking and what was out there, but I didn't see anybody that would have caught him for a pretty good gain. But that's when he dropped the ball, is when he was pulling it out of his stomach, out of his belly.
No, he pulled it too late. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Ronnie. It's a mechanical error. It's an execution error. The play has to be executed cleanly. Now, if they get the play off, I have no idea what
That's
the hell
what I'm
happens.
saying. Then I don't think people would have as much to say, because if it worked and they scored or whatever,
Or
got the first down.
if it had been anything but the result that it bore out,
Yes,
which
exactly.
is a fumble.
Even if it was an incomplete pass, or even if it was just like Derek got nowhere, I feel like just the fact that he fumbled it makes it so much worse.
So just to kind of reiterate this, I don't know how the analysis for a lot of people today is the play calling, because you got drops all over the field. You got Jeff Swaim on an island nowhere near the vicinity of a pass.
Why does Jeff Swaim get the ball?
Because he blocks, Nikki. Jeff Swaim, tight end 1 for all time, forever and ever, amen.
Why? I've never really seen him do anything. I'm sorry if you're listening, Jeff. I'm not trying to hate.
No, Jeff's currently in a team meeting, also probably getting yelled at by the coaching staff, because what the hell are you doing?
What does he do?
He blocks.
Okay, but I haven't seen him like make any big plays this year. Catch like reception.
That is correct.
Okay, just making sure.
He's a human tree
We're watching
trunk.
the same thing.
We are seeing the exact same thing, except I've seen 2 of it. It's 2 seasons of this.
Yeah,
at this point.
I've seen it.
So I don't know how, with the miscues that they had, with the execution errors that they had, with the penalties that they had, and with the drops that they had, not just from like Derrick Henry, who's not necessarily a sure-handed receiver, but Robert Woods in a big spot where there's already so few targets to go around. You cannot have that kind of mental miscue. And that's exactly what they got yesterday.
Yeah.
We'll continue this conversation. Last call for phone calls. Nikki, you going to stick around and do the polls?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
No is the answer to that question.
Not convincing.
Find out next. Welcome back. Wrapping up on it. What are you giggling about back there? What was this whole bit? The music has been playing for like 10 minutes and I haven't been able to turn my microphone on.
I like watching you squirm.
I don't like that.
You see, at least like you have people who you work with who are there to help you, who want to see you succeed, right?
I would hope so.
Well,
I'm kidding.
I will show you what it looks like when people actively work against your success to the detriment of their own success.
Truthfully, I left you out of program 1 on accident, and then when you started talking and you weren't on air, and then I saw how uncomfortable you were, I just wasn't in a rush to get you back on.
That's a bad friend right there.
Yeah, it wasn't like a premeditated evil thing by me.
Jump
but then
button him.
It
No,
turned
it's
into
worse
that.
because you saw what was happening and you let it go anyway.
Yeah, that is what happened.
Last call for phone calls. Niki Lattarulo.
Call us, guys. I want to talk to you. Are the viewers saying anything?
Yeah. Oh, you don't have the chat in front of you.
No.
There's a lot of comments about how you look like you probably get carded regularly.
I do. I get carded.
What happened to you on the airplane the other
Okay,
day?
so when we were going to Kansas City, we had connecting flights. So we had 4 different flights, and I was in the exit. Yeah, it was tragic. I was in the exit row, and on every flight, the flight attendant came up and said, "Are you over 18? Can you sit here?" And then I was like, not offended, but I had a hood on, like kind of looked sketch. And then when I was in the airport, they made me go back and get my ID. And I found out it was 16. The girl was like, "Oh," I said, "How old do you have to be?" And she said 16. That's a lie. I don't look 16.
I don't know what 16-year-olds look like.
Well, nowadays, 16-year-olds probably do look older than me.
Right?
So it makes sense.
Because you're 25.
Don't expose me like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. 25, I feel like, is an age that's okay to be exposed.
Yeah, it is. It's fine.
Okay.
It's like a normal.
25 is a good number.
But I would like to be 22. So I feel like looking young works in my favor.
Unless you're on an airplane.
Unless I look like I'm going to Com 100, which...
Which is exactly what you're dressed like today. Howard is in Mount Juliet up next. Hey, Howard.
Hey, you guys are talking about Malik, and I was like, oh, he failed to execute, big deal. But the thing that got me was the third down play. I think they were in the red zone. There was about 3 minutes left. They had about 3 or 4 yards to go to get a first down, and they passed the ball and stopped the clock. And that's why, that kind of play is why Todd Downing, I'm like, dude, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's something different for everybody. Like, everybody's going to have their own, like, problem issues. And there are things that are lightning rod moments like the Malik Willis fumble that are easy to latch onto and collectively gravitate towards. But I do think, I made this reference last night on A to Z, but, like, it's like politics because we just had Election Day. You're going to vote for who you want to vote for. And no amount of campaign commercials.
So facts.
No amount of campaign commercials, no amount of reasonable and even decent conversation from people from opposing viewpoints is going to change your mind. You're going to vote for who you're going to vote for. So I'm going to tell you how many different ways that Todd Downing has done this wrong or this right, and it's not going to make a difference in how you feel about Todd Downing.
No, I think they could have an amazing offensive game. People would still say, fire Todd Downing.
No, they would say Tim Kelly called those plays.
Then it would be Shane Bowenful.
All right, one more. Chris in Murfreesboro. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, guys. I'm kind of looking at what the bigger picture is, how everybody's getting all upset. And I just wonder if everybody realizes we are 2 plays away from being 8-1. The 2 points in Kansas City and the 2-point try in Buffalo. So you take those 2 plays, we still have that same team that could be 8-1. So, going into the playoffs, once we make the playoffs, the records mean nothing. So, whether we were 8-1 or 6-3, we still have that same team out there. Nothing's changed.
Thanks for the call. You're right, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
There's a couple of different things there that.
But that's football. You can't be like one play.
No, football's weird.
Come on.
6-3, not 8-1.
Exactly.
All right, you ready for the polls?
Anyways, yeah.
Do you know how this works?
Nope.
Okay, polls.
Zoinks! Like, hey, Scoob, stop the count.
We don't ever
Stop
use
the
the
count.
Scooby-Doo one.
Yeah. The polls have closed. The votes are in. It's time for a poll update, Scoob. A poll update? Yeah. Zoinks, Scoob. Here's Buck Rising Show daily correspondent Lucas Panzica. Lucas Panzica? Yeah.
That is, of course, Titans Radio executive producer and broadcast professional extraordinaire, Rhett Bryan.
The
as
great.
Scooby-Doo and Shaggy.
The great.
Wait, that was
Rhett
him?
Bryan.
That was both. Yeah, you know Rhett.
Yes, but I didn't know. You know how, like, on TV, they'll be like, they'll give a promo and it's like somebody's random voice. It sounds automated. Like, I don't know who those people are. I thought that was one of those.
What are the polls?
Speaks to Rhett's talent.
Yeah, what a guy.
They're brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers sells below MSRP on all non-specialty new Fords. How would you assess the Titans' passing game yesterday? Mahogany says it worked. Goody says passable.
How would you assess the Titans' passing game yesterday?
Those are the options?
No, it's an open-ended
It's
question.
open-ended.
Oh, the passing game?
Yeah.
Not good.
Okay. That's all you had to say.
I thought there was like multiple choice.
No. Well, there are some. We have multiple choice ones today too.
Yeah, it's like this one.
Only she could come in here and overcomplicate the polls. We made it without a headphone malfunction.
Hey,
but
it's
like
because the headband's already on. The hair's already pushed back.
the easiest thing we do on the show, she just came in and took a hatchet to it.
Sorry.
All right, we'll break it down. The Vols running up the score on Mizzou. Fair, they need style points. Or foul. 89% say fair, they need style points.
Fair.
Fair. They do need style points. I don't let anybody on any television broadcast tell you that it's wrong to run up
They
the score in
had
college
to.
football.
They need to improve their resume. They cannot win by 7 over Mizzou.
That is the correct
Goodbye.
answer.
No.
I think the issue people had is they could have won 59-24 over Mizzou, other than 66-24.
Put up as many points as you can.
Yeah, put up as many as you can.
Let Joe Milton more 70-yard bombs.
Put your backups in and see what they could do.
Which Titans depth player had the most impressive performance Sunday? NWI, DeMarcus Walker, Dylan Cole, or Austin Hooper. 46% say Nick Westbrook-Akina. 35% say DeMarcus Walker. 14% Dylan Cole. 5% Austin Hooper.
I got to give it to NWI.
Me too.
I mean, the defense is crazy what they're doing. Like, it's nonsense, but there's a lot of different guys. NWI had a rough start, but finished very, very strongly, to his credit. And, we talked about he took something of significance away from their chapel meeting on Saturday night. And obviously, whatever motivation he needs, go out and get it, because he got the job done.
I agree.
What was your first thought when Malik Willis went into the game? Rand says, good idea. Now let's execute. Goody says, why? Andrew says, what are we doing?
Can I have Bruce Brennan answer this question for me? Is that possible? Do we have the ability to do that?
You want to say that to the audience? What's going on here?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why did you just turn your
Are you guys
microphone off
having
to
a
talk to
fight?
me?
No, I hit the wrong button. Then trying to talk to you. I'm sorry. Can I have Bruce Drennan give me the answer to the question that you just asked?
Nope, those are the polls.
Okay. I made fun of Nikki for coming in here and bogging things down, and then I just ran the show into the ground at the very end. Niki Lattarulo.
I'm taking over.
Check her out on WSMV before she takes over my radio show. When will you next be on television?
Not today or tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm on 5, 6, and 10.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Boom. There it is.
Just tune in to WSM before I'm usually working.
Josh Pate is with us tomorrow. We'll do a lot of college football for Lucas Panzica and Niki Lattarulo. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.